welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560. The Answer. I'm here with Deborah Schreiner, our technical producer, Jim Leahy, my co-host, and our very special guest, attorney Mark Hearsh. Now, on this, let's go right into the segment, Deborah.
It's the blog segment. The blog. The blog.
I just wanted to hear the music.
I like it too. I've turned around. You've turned. It's weird.
There's something about that. I just love it. But anyway, on this segment, I teased before we came on, and I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to talk about installment agreements, and that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, but I wanted to introduce our co-host, our guest here today, Mark Hearsh. He's an attorney. And he and I go back some years now, and I just wanted to hear Mark's story about his practice and his involvement, how he met me, and let's start there, Mark. Tell us about yourself.
Well, so my situation is that I got in trouble, owing money to the IRS and trying to work out a deal to pay it back. So it certainly fits into an installment program. My problem that your listeners can relate to is that, I was involved with a family business back in 2003. I don't know, we had a 5-year family furniture business, basic everyday business. And it was about $5-6 million business. And we were selling some expensive furniture items. And we got into trouble in 2003 during the Iraq War because people weren't going out and shopping to buy expensive furniture. Mm-hmm. So the bank basically, and it was a small bank in St. Louis, basically called the loan. They didn't even give us an opportunity to do a workout. They immediately went after it, called the loan and put us out of business, which, pulled the rug out of our income.
Kind of like It's a Wonderful Life, right? When they call it.
Yeah.
Hey, they called our loan.
They called our loan.
They called the loan.
They didn't even ask. They didn't even ask. They basically just made that decision. It's too risky for them. Mm-hmm. Not the right bank for us, but that's a separate matter. So the long and the short of it is, I didn't have the income that I had, and I had a young family. I had expenses. We had rent to pay. We had put food on the table. And so I filed all my taxes, so that wasn't the issue. But I wasn't able to keep up with the payments or drop the payments that they need. So I did get into installment plans. We moved here to Chicago about a year later because my wife's from here. And, things were more expensive and couldn't keep up with the installment plan. So, the letters started coming, and then I sought out attorneys at that time to see who could help me. Mm-hmm. And let
me interrupt you a little bit, because you said did you do that yourself? Did you work out an installment agreement yourself? Did you contact the IRS?
Well, early on I did. Okay, initially.
So that's what I wanted to get to, because here you're an attorney, so you know how to deal with legal issues. That's what you do, and you set up an installment agreement. And again, sometimes doing that yourself makes sense. A lot of times it does, but sometimes it does. But I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
But even being an attorney, if you're not, experienced in a particular vertical or field, you don't necessarily know what you're doing. Certainly, I couldn't tell you back when I graduated law school, if I took Taxation 101, I don't think that helps you dealing with the IRS, right? So, it's true. The long and the short of it is that, I did back then in early 2004 or 5, seek out different attorneys, and I met some characters, right? Everyone can tell you that, hey, I'm going to help you. We're going to take care of this. And at the end of the day, they didn't really do much, but they did cost you a lot of money, mm-hmm. right? You had to pay retainers, fees. But I was able to, stay afloat, deal with the IRS or whatever the case may be, for a number of years. And then the lawsuit with regard to our furniture business lasted for 9 years. Oh. So for all your clients out there, even attorneys get involved in litigation. It was a family business. My father, my brother-in-law, it was tough, right? And a lot of legal bills just to survive, the wrath of a bank coming after you. So, and I used that right in wrath. The long and the short of it is that back in, I guess, around, what year is this, 2019, so about 4 years ago, the letters started coming because I wasn't keeping up. I had to find, my accountant said at the time, I can help you with your IRS. And it said, okay. He goes, we do this. Sole practitioner.
How many times have you heard that?
Many times. Yeah.
He spent, I don't know, maybe 60 days, 40 days trying to negotiate. He came up and he says, okay, I got you a deal. And you start paying, next month. And he came up with a figure that was a third of my income. And I said, excuse me? I go, how is that going to help me? He goes, well, it's the IRS. That's what, they want. That's the figure they want. And I go like, well, you might as well just shoot me now because I can't afford my mortgage. I can't put food on my table. I believe I can do better than this.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you again because I'm going to tell you that this happens a lot and that people work with accountants. Well, they work with the IRS, so they know how to deal with them. But too much the accountants, what they do is they say, they ask you how much you owe, and then they say to the IRS, how much does he have to pay? And the IRS tells them, and they turn around and say, this is what you got to pay. Because they don't really advocate.
There's really no negotiating.
No, there was no advocate. There was no negotiating. There was exactly. It was just a communication portal.
Just a middle guy that's just
playing the game telephone, right? They say one thing, and he turns around and says to the other guy, right?
Exactly.
Didn't help me. So my story is that I started searching online, referrals, whatever, and I went through probably a dozen guys who were all in the tax resolution business. And I had come across you, and you weren't easily found.
I'm trying to change that.
Yeah, we're trying to change that. I had to dig into I had actually met a young tax attorney, and I had introduced, and I thought he was a good guy. And my wife met him in 2 minutes. He said, as a judgment of character, you're not doing business and you're not giving him the check. She just didn't trust him. And I thought he would do a good job.
And you need somebody who you can trust.
He did a good pitch on me, right? Then I met Stephen, and I learned that, hey, I need to go meet you first. To see if you're real before I can introduce you to my wife, because she didn't want to waste her time. and I found you to be a man of character.
That's your first mistake.
But I didn't know, right? You could have stuff on your website that says you're the greatest thing. You can cure cancer.
That's right.
You're the best doctor in the world.
Well, we're running out of time, and really one of the most important things that we're...
Well, I'll get to the conclusion real quick. Okay, the real conclusion is that I felt you were the right guy. Brought in my wife. My wife met you.
Wonderful woman, by the way.
She basically said, okay, we're going with Stephen. We went to work with Stephen, and Stephen is a man of his word and a man of his integrity. And after a period of time, he did exactly what he said he was going to do and helped me solve my problem with the IRS.
Just like countless others.
Well,
like countless others.
Tell you,
how many times do we hear this?
How much I appreciate your story here, and I'm I get a little uncomfortable because I don't like to say like, oh, I'm the greatest guy in the world. But I can tell you this.
I didn't say that.
I know.
I said you were a man of your integrity.
No. I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that, and that's what I'm just going to say because that's exactly what I do. I do what I say I'm going to do, and I don't make any empty promises. And I think in this circle of this business, there's too many empty promises. People make a lot of promises that they can't keep. And I'll be always the first one to tell you when I can't help you. And sometimes people come to see me and I can't help them. And I tell them so. And maybe I'll talk about that in the next segment or in the
Mr. Know-It-All. We'll talk about it in Mr. Know-It-All. Mark, we really do appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. Just like countless others, though. I mean, we've talked to you. You can go and take a look at the reviews. I mean, they speak for themselves. Not even that. Take a look at the 4 years of content going on 5 years.
5 years now,
of content that Attorney Stephen Leahy and Open Tax Resolution has pushed. 312-664-6649. Visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. So we're going to be able to see all that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a problem with the IRS, if you need help, there's only one guy to call. There's only one law office to call, and it's the law office of Attorney Stephen A. Leahy and Open Tax Resolutions. 312-664-6649. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned and come back, because after the commercial break, more IRS Radio Hour on AM 560.
The answer. And Jim is going to take a breather.